Welcome back to Let the Beat Build, a music production podcast where I, your host, Marcelino Villalpando, interviews music producers and have them walk us through their creative process. Today on the show, we have Texas-based producer Frythm, and he's going to walk us through his track, What You Do To Me, which is off his album Aurora. And he actually just released a new EP last Thursday called Ego Loss, which I highly recommend you check out. We had a great conversation, but before we hop into it, let's take a listen to some of his music first. First off, thanks for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Excited.
For those that don't know who you are, why don't you kind of introduce yourself? Tell us how you got into making music.
All right, so I produce music under the name Frythm. I want to say I started about like four or 5 years ago. At first, it was kind of just random, like electronic beats type stuff like that. I wasn't taking it very seriously. And then after about like two years of production, I finally started taking it serious and I started the Frythm project. And with that came more of the experimental electronic side of electronic music that I tried tying in with the moniker Frythm.
Who are some of your early influences, early projects, or early producers that inspired you to go from being a listener to a contributor?
So you got to give respect to like the legends like Dilla, the guys that kind of started that whole hip hop scene. But I did kind of grow up more with the electronic end of music, so I got to draw heavy influence from like artists like Flume, stuff like that do tie in those hip hop influences into their music. And also I do draw like a lot of influence from UK garage music. I feel like the way they kind of evolutionized that like two-step sound and that aspect of music was crazy. Like compared to the 4 to the floor like electronic music that everyone was used to at that time.
Definitely listening to your music, I definitely see the Flume influence, just like with the way you manipulate the vocals. But also I got like a very European feel because some of your tracks, like they felt very just like underground, like housey in a way.
Yeah, I do draw a lot of influence from that. And then the whole like vocal thing, I never really had like singers around that I could have at my disposal and just like record them really quick. So that's why I kind of started manipulating like random vocal samples and trying to give that human aspect tied into that whole like electronic sound and try and make something that sounded really, really organic but familiar to the ear for like people who aren't just into like instrumental music.
That definitely comes across. Like listening to your whole entire catalog is interesting to see like just the growth from just like 2 years ago. I feel like once you made that track Delusional, I feel like that was a pivotal moment for your catalog because Aurora has a lot of similar tendencies. Like I hear that main synth sound from Delusional quite often in Aurora.
Yeah. Delusional was that track that was kind of like the eye opener of sound I was going for. This was kind of like also like an introduction to what the whole like mood for the album kind of set it with Delusional.
Let's talk about the track What You Do To Me now.
Yeah. That one was fun. That was one of the like more uplifting tracks on the album, I'm pretty sure.
Right, that's the only reason why I chose the track, because I like to feel happy during these interviews.
Yeah. I feel you, man.
But that track, it was interesting because even though it doesn't do a lot melodically, like switch ups, you chose to make those changes happen during the drums. Like what was your reasoning behind that?
That track was definitely like on that heavy UK garage vibe, and I was listening to like a lot of like two-step music at the time when I was gonna start working on that. And I kind of figured like, all right, I need something uplifting that's gonna fit in the project, like sound design wise, and not get taken out of context, but still have kind of like a summery vibe that people can like groove to, have like a good swing, do a little head bop, like that type of deal with that track.
What were the elements that you started off with first?
I actually started with like some guitar chords. It was actually like a 10-15 minute jam session of just recording different ideas. That's how I normally like start my projects. I think I was trying to like find something to transpose, and I hit the reverse button because I do like reversing samples, but I wasn't trying to do it in this aspect. And when I did it, it did reverse the guitar, and it kind of gave it like that swell, like that swelling sound that you hear that are kind of like the intro chords. And then I think I had laid down that rim shot that's there in the track, kind of like that snare sound. So I wanted to do something to spice it up, and Ableton also has this cool thing called AU pitch, and I'll throw the AU pitch on the master, and you can actually like tune up the sound, and essentially what you're doing is just transposing the entire track. So I ended up doing that as well, and it came out a lot more dancey, and it gave the track like a new life in general. And then that's when I started adding like sidechain and stuff like that to kind of make it pump a bit. So that's where the entire track kind of derived from, just like experimenting with different random ideas like that. What I did next after was actually chopped up some vocals.
You just do what you do your own thing. Just so you know, I'll be out every night.
All I pretty much did was I chopped the vocals into a drum rack onto Ableton. I pitched them up, I want to say 7 or 8 semitones. Threw on some reverb, and then I kind of was just messing around on the Ableton push, and I came up with that little catchy 8-bar loop from just playing it through a couple times there on the push. Each little chop had like a heavy vowel sound, and I know that's something that's familiar to the ear for a lot of people. So I kind of just decided to let that flow through and keep the track in time, kind of keep the same vibe throughout the entire thing. I knew I wanted something dancey, but I didn't want to go like full on 4 to the floor, like house type beat. So I decided to kind of go for that like 2-step vibe, gave him some swing, then I added that kind of offbeat hat that kind of gives that like house vibe as well. And that was that UK garage influence. Drums is like a super important part of like all music as far as like getting swing and everything. Like you gotta add like something that'll like keep your head bopping throughout the entire time. The bass line was added as I was making the drums. It was just something that would keep the swing going with the track. What I like to do is throw camel crushers on like sub basses or like kicks, kind of just because it over compresses them a little bit and it gives them that distortion. So I did that, and I sidechained it to give it that like pumpy kind of glitchy effect there. So I did that, and then there's also like some like a little white noise to give it swing. It's very like subtle, and it's kind of like thrown on like around the kick area, and that was just a random white noise patch in Serum, and I also sidechained it as well, so it kind of gave it like that pumping effect. I didn't want the track to sound too repetitive with that same underlying vocal. What I did was I kind of decided on going like a halftime from that like fast up-tempo UK garage to like a hip-hop influence style. I kind of just moved them around as well. I just played them differently to get a new melody. And I played like a deeper pitch. I feel half-timing things can kind of like give a new life to the project. If you're ever like sampling records and you want to slow something down, you can like put your hand on it slightly and it does pitch the entire record down as well. So me half timing it after having those bouncy kicks, I wanted to kind of emulate how a real life change in time would be, and that would be it actually dropping down in pitch as well. I like to kind of do like see how long I can loop something without it getting boring and without changing too many aspects of the track, just so I can kind of see like, okay, how long can I hold this listener's attention without kind of like losing their interest in the track, just so you're kind of like hypnotized in a way by the beat. You kind of get lost in the sound and then you're hit with like that dancey and you're just like, oh snap, like okay, cool. Like that's a cool little switch up there.
At which point in the process did you know that this track was a keeper?
Okay, I definitely knew it was a keeper after I called my brother into the room, because I always like show him a lot of my production stuff, my brother and my stepdad, and I was like, yo, check it out. It's a little different than what I normally do, but it's like very dancey. And as soon as I played it, like the head was bobbing, and I was like, yep, that's that validation. The stepdad, the brother test. Can't beat that, man.
You can't beat the fam test. I'm glad you brought up your stepfather, because last time we spoke, I found your connection really interesting, because he's really involved with your music, which is really cool. But at the same time, I find pretty hilarious that there's an older age man just bobbing his head to electronic music.
Yeah, man.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, can you kind of elaborate on what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, so my stepdad is like the most supportive person in the world. Like it's insane. Like he believes in me like 100%. He's always pushing me like, yo, are you making beats? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? I'm like, yeah, don't worry. He's always like, if I need like merch, he'll help me, like either whether it's ordering shirts or finding deals where we can find like best pricing, stuff like that. Also, when I do play like shows here in El Paso, like he's there for sure. He's rocking the Frythm tee, waiting for me to play. And it's dope because I can see people like, yo, like who's this old dude? And I'm like, hey, that's my stepdad. Like, yeah, like he's always there at the shows, super supportive. I think like before I finished Aurora, I had sent him like a private link on SoundCloud. And on SoundCloud, you can see like stats and you can see like, oh, who's playing your music and stuff like that. And I was like, yo, like, why does the private stream have like 100 streams in like a week? I was like, what the heck? So I asked him and he's like, yeah, like they had just taken a trip to I think Arizona. And he was like, yeah, I had it on repeat the whole trip. I was like, oh, sweet, like cool. So he's super supportive. He really likes the music, and he knows, he kind of has like an ear for it as well. So he's super supportive. I can't even like, I don't even have the words to thank him for helping me out as far as like with anything I need, like financially or support wise. Like he's that guy that's there, that's always gonna push me to be a better producer and a person as well, which is huge.
That just makes me so happy hearing that, because you know, you don't always have support of like your loved ones when you're pursuing a creative endeavor.
Yeah.
Tell me now about the Prickly Elder. Is it?
Yeah, Prickly Elder. Okay, that's like my favorite spot ever. The guy who owns the bar, his name is Lenny. Shout out to Lenny if you listen to this. You're dope, man. He's so dope. He's the coolest guy ever. But Prickly Elder is actually, it's not super big. It's kind of a smaller, more intimate venue, and it has a lot of character. It's actually like, if you walk in, it's themed as like a grandma's house. So you walk in, there's like some retro furniture, there's like floral wallpaper, there's like pictures of like random old people on the wall, and like everything is served like in teacups, and it's just a really dope spot. I think at first a lot of people that come in are like confused. They're like, yo, what is this? Like I'm about to play a show here, like this is a grandma's house. Like I think they're kind of intimidated at first and they're confused. They're like, what? But like once everything kind of gets flowing, it's cool. It kind of has like a boiler room type vibe because it's not a huge spot, and everyone's kind of like around you while you're playing, so you get that super intimate aspect. And you're kind of, if you're in the audience, you're like forced to listen to the music because you don't have space to move anywhere else. So if you're gonna be inside like getting a drink or whatever, you're gonna be there like getting down, like dancing, because there's no other place to go to, which is dope, which gives it a super cool vibe. That's why I absolutely love playing there.
Right. That's dope that you're part of the growing beat scene in El Paso. I'm sure that must be fun, watching it just kind of grow out of nowhere. And also, I'm aware that you're part of a beat collective, right? Soulful by Nature?
Yeah, those are the homies, SXN. Those guys are my brothers, man. I really love them, and I'm grateful to be a part of that team, just because as a producer, like specifically, it can be hard like trying to push out new content consistently if you're not getting like the recognition and what you feel like you deserve. But having like a team to kind of tell you like, yo, like keep going, eventually things are gonna work out is huge. And it's fun playing shows with these guys, and it's just super inspiring as well, like hearing other people's music that you know personally, because you're like, dude, like you made that, like that's dope, you know, like it inspires you to want to be a better producer yourself as well.
That's super helpful, having access to feedback like that from other producers, because like the average person most of the time just tell you if it sounds good or not, but other producers will tell you like, hey, EQ that kick better, or compress that bass.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's move on to your sound design interests. I know you're really into making your own patches. You spend a lot of time on them, and you recently got into making your own VSTs, correct?
Yes, yeah, it is. That's actually gonna be like my summer project. I want to make a simple, maybe a 2 oscillator like VST synth.
I haven't heard of too many producers making their own VSTs. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I feel like that would definitely be like a good way to generate like a comfortable revenue, just making like little VSTs here and there, not with like super heavy like visual interfaces, but kind of dumbing them down a bit in a way and making them a little bit simpler. I feel like I'd be able to reach like a broader audience of like people that are either like picking up production or people who are just looking for a new VST in general. I feel like I'd be able to hit both of those crowds pretty well. And
so this VST is gonna, like, what kind of sounds are you gonna be focusing on? Like more patty type synths?
Yeah, I want to do more like atmospheric type sounds. I want to be able to like tie in like a custom reverb, I guess, like a reverb delay method in one, like at the twist of a knob, and then also kind of want to have like a sampler in there as well. Kind of take some inspiration from different plugins and kind of make it into one that can be used in that way.
That's dope. Going back on the reverb, I was thinking, what would be kind of cool is if you took the image response from the prickly outer and have one of your settings be a prickly outer setting, the reverb.
Dude, that would be so dope. All right, I'm gonna like jot that down really quick, because that's a dope idea, man, honestly. And that's paying homage to the spot that's always held it down. Dang, I'm gonna trademark that real quick and get on the internet. Nah, but for real, man, I like that idea a lot. Like that's really dope.
It'd be cool to kind of cause you'd be sharing like that live experience of just being in that room with the world, You putting prickly outer on the map, dude.
Yeah, man, exactly, bro. Yeah, that'd be dope. That would be, yeah. That's definitely an idea I'm gonna run with now. Thank you.
Of course. So, what besides you making the next greatest VST of all time, what's next for Frythm?
I got a little run of shows coming up, so I'm doing that. Also, I'm already working on new projects. Definitely more hip hop influenced, so it's kind of a right turn from what Aurora was. I'm working with a couple of rappers as well, so that's exciting because I normally don't have a lot of features. They're definitely heavier, like on the more of like that wonky side of like hip hop influenced music. So I've also kind of dabbled into the indie side of music, kind of just like heavily influenced by like Fosh the People and stuff like that, The Neighborhood. So I'm trying to decide if I should start like a new moniker for that, because it does have some singing, and it is more like indie for sure. Like it would have nothing to do with the sound of Frythm. So I might be doing that next as well, and that's super exciting. So
That's really exciting. I actually was gonna call you out on that because I saw you post an Instagram story where you were singing.
yeah, man, and it's fun. Like I actually have like a notebook full of like lyrics written down, and it's more like poetry stuff that I've done, but I've figured out how to kind of tie it into a musical aspect, and I feel like with that, like doing like something indie-ish would definitely be the route to go. And it's super fun, and it's something fresh because I normally write like darker, more cinematic stuff,
Right.
so it's kind of working like that other musical side of my brain, I guess, and it's definitely helping me gain new inspirations from that and kind of tying them into Frythm and vice versa. So I'm super stoked on that.
Before I let you go, any last words?
Nah, man, just like a thank you for sure for like having me on and taking the time to do this, letting me kind of explain myself musically and give the listener an insight of what I was feeling and how the track was made. So thank you, bro.
Of course, man. Of course. Thank you for your time, and definitely keep us posted of all your future works. Why don't you now tell people where we can find your music at?
All right, so you can find my music Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, SoundCloud, pretty much everything where there is a cloud of music involved. You can find my tunes there, spotify.com. That's what I'm plugging right now. I feel like Spotify playlisting is huge, so I'm gonna plug my Spotify. Everyone go follow Spotify, Frythm. Boom.
I think it's time to listen to What You Do to Me in its entirety. Can you go ahead and introduce that for us now?
Yeah, so you're about to listen to my track, What You Do to Me. I hope you guys dig it and head bop, because that was the point of the track. Yeah.
I want to thank Frythm once again for coming on today's episode and giving us a glimpse of the man behind the music. Just a reminder, check out his latest EP, Ego Loss. It's really dope and you won't be disappointed. I also want to thank you, the listener, for hanging out with us today, because you could have been listening to any other podcast in the world, but you decided to listen to ours. And that's dope. If you found value in today's episode, please feel free to share it with a friend and or give us a positive rating on iTunes, because that helps other people find the show as well. Until next time, I'm your host, Marcelino Villalpando. This is Let the Beat Build. Peace.